Hey, what's up guys? I'm BTC. There have been some pretty big changes to the matchmaking system that is almost going to completely eliminate win streaks and lose streaks altogether. The competitive ladder ranking system has been plagued with problems from the very beginning. Stuff like when supports are not getting enough points for a win or losing too much for a loss. That's actually happened a couple of times throughout the seasons. Other things like when you would lose the absolute maximum amount of points possible even though someone on your team left the match and you were in an unfair situation where it was 4v6 or 5v6 and you couldn't possibly win, you would still lose the absolute maximum amount of points. And then of course you had the exact opposite, where you would win only literally 1 or 2 points because someone on the enemy team left the match. Stuff like this happened all the time. The list goes on and on. One of the biggest problems has always been the win streak and the lose streak. These two things cause a couple of different problems. The biggest and most obvious one is for people on a losing streak. If you have a bad day and lose 3 or 4 matches, you could see yourself losing hundreds of points very quickly. It doesn't matter if your team got absolutely stomped, or if you just ever so barely lost in overtime. The game would treat your loss with a crippling multiplier. This could often have people losing a full rank or more in the span of a couple of days. Now, if you are losing the matches, I think logically it makes sense that you should lose points. But the system, as I said, didn't take into account how close those matches were or what the reason was at all. The system quite simply doesn't care about the specifics of the loss. You could have been playing amazing, but 1 or 2 of your teammates left the match and therefore you lose, so the system treats you as if you played like complete garbage and gives you that crippling multiplier lose streak. This led a lot of players to become incredibly frustrated with a system that wasn't just taking away points because of a loss, but was actually excessively punishing them for no good reason. On the other side of the coin, the win streaks also played havoc with the rank system. Someone who is having a really lucky day and manages to win a bunch of games could often find themselves being artificially boosted by that same multiplier effect. This resulted in some players being put into matches against others who were significantly better than they were. The win streak propelled that player up into a rank that they probably just were not ready for, and as a result, that player is now a detriment to his team. The irony of this is that it would usually cause his team to lose the match, which would then be followed by a losing streak, which could very likely drag that player back down hundreds of points, possibly even lower than his original starting score. People have been complaining about this for a very long time, and Blizzard has just now taken some action to deal with it. Over on the official Overwatch forums, principal designer Scott Mercer discussed the changes that Blizzard has just made to the matchmaking system. He says, "Hello again, everyone. Today I wanted to talk to you about a behind-the-scenes change to our matchmaking systems that just went live with the 1.10 patch. But first, I should take a step back and provide some background information. As Jeff Kaplan noted in a recent post about smurfing, we do a decent job of quickly determining someone's skill at playing Overwatch. The faster we can update your matchmaking rating, the MMR, to match your, quote, real skill, the fewer unfair matches get created with a player with inaccurate skill. Another way to look at it is that when we're incorrect at identifying someone's skill, then win or loss streaks can occur. One of the tools we use to accelerate a player to their appropriate MMR is a multiplier to the rating change based on these consecutive wins or losses." So I want to pull away from the quote real quick, and I want to jump in just to mention something about the, quote, real skill that Scott Mercer is talking about. It's actually not as accurate as he's claiming. For example, when calculating your real skill, Blizzard still uses the average of all your game time, meaning that regardless of how good you are right now, they still use your stats from almost a year ago when you first started playing the game in order to determine where you should be right now. If that doesn't make any sense at all, it's because it doesn't. Why they insist on using really old data to determine your current MMR makes absolutely no sense at all. Whatever, I don't know why they're still doing it. Anyways, let's continue with what Scott Mercer is saying. While this streak multiplier has been working well in the Smurf case, win or loss streaks can also just naturally occur when the matchmaking system has already properly identified skill. Again, it's not as accurate as they think it is. After all, the matchmaker is trying to place you in fair matches where you have a 50% chance to win. It's rare, but sometimes you flip a coin 5 times and it lands on heads every time. So when these natural streaks occur, the multiplier has been accelerating gains and losses away from your, quote, true skill. You end up having a larger variance in skill rating over time, which in turn hurts the overall quality of the matches. Therefore, we're changing the tuning of the streak multiplier to be quite a bit less aggressive. You now need to win or lose more games in a row before any multiplier is used, and it scales up at a slower pace. Furthermore, we will now try to only use the multiplier in cases where the matchmaking system has some confidence that the player's MMR and skill are wildly mismatched. In cases of natural, random streaks, you ideally shouldn't see any acceleration either up or down at all. We'll be monitoring how these changes affect overall match quality going forward and continue to adjust tuning over time to improve the fairness and quality of Overwatch matches. Thanks for the continued feedback, and good luck in your matches. So this is kind of a mixed bag. On the one hand, it's good that you're not going to see any more wild swings in your ranking. If you're having a bad day, you shouldn't lose hundreds of points, and at the same time, if you're having a lucky day, it shouldn't propel you way higher than you're supposed to be. The bad news is the flawed system that uses old stats and gameplay data is now going to lock you into a rank that is almost certainly going to be slightly lower than you should actually be. This is why when people buy a new account, it's much easier for them to get a higher ranking than with an older account that still has a lot of earlier bad gameplay data attached to it. Now, having said all that, if you are consistently improving, you should still be able to climb the ranks, although it is going to be a little bit harder now. When you do start to climb, though, you're not going to have to worry about sliding down just because of a bad day. Alright, so speaking from personal experience, I can say that the win streak and lose streak stuff has been incredibly frustrating to deal with on the competitive ladder. A while back, I had a really bad day, and I ended up having 3 games in a row where people on my team ended up leaving. Just in the middle of a match, or they rage quit, or whatever reason, they left the match. So therefore, we got a loss. Now, taking a loss from someone leaving is bad enough, but getting a lose streak multiplier from consecutive losses from people leaving that I had no control over is extremely, extremely frustrating. And just recently, this was like a week ago, I had 6 games, not an exaggeration, guys, 6 games in a row where people on my team intentionally lost. And I'm not talking about, oh, you know, they weren't playing good. I'm talking about people that were, like, jumping off of the edge of the map, or running in circles, or intentionally running into the enemy and just dying. You know, that sort of stupid stuff. I don't know if it was a combination of them just being trolls, or maybe they were trying to D-rank in order to, you know, smurf in a lower bracket or something. Anyways, the point is, 6 games in a row I lost because of people just jumping off the edges, doing whatever stupid stuff, right? And of course, I get hit with a huge, massive lose streak multiplier. And again, just like when people leave, you know, I don't have control over whether or not someone leaves the match. I don't have control over them jumping off the edge of, you know, Lijiang Tower either. So I have no control over that, and yet I still got a huge punishment by that. Also, on the other side, I remember playing, you know, in the Masters bracket and having people on my team who just should not have been there. Like, oh my god, like, how are you playing at this rank? I had someone on my team, okay, actually, it was 2 people. I had a soldier and a McCree on my team. And on the enemy team, there was a Pharah, and neither one of them, during the entire course of all 3 rounds, not one of them got a single kill on the enemy Pharah. Like, I'm just, how are you in this game? So, the only thing I could think of is they probably had a lucky win streak and they got propelled up there to somewhere they shouldn't be. So, if this whole thing gets fixed with the streaks, I will be glad to see it gone. Also, kind of as a funny side note, when they first launched this new update the other day, they completely broke rank gain in the competitive ladder. Basically, if you lost a match, you would lose points, but if you won a match, you would get 0. That's already been hotfixed, so you don't have to worry about that. I just thought it was funny that they completely broke the ability to gain any points whatsoever. But anyways, guys, what do you think about all this? The win streaks, lose streaks? Let me know what you think down in the comment section below, and make sure you subscribe because there's lots more Overwatch content on the channel. Thank you for watching. Hit that like button, share it with your friends. Remember, always blame the controller because it's never your fault.